We are on the job with Dr. Travis Moore. He's the Director of Healthcare Category Management at Indeed. Good to have you here, Doctor. There is a severe shortage of healthcare workers. How did we get here?
Yeah, it's a great question. And really it's a myriad of factors. A couple that I'll mention is, one, we just have more patients right now than we've had before. This is largely due to an increased and an aging population, as well as we're still trying to catch up from some of the things we put off during the pandemic. And so whether those are ailments or different procedures, patients trying to get in to see their doctors about that. Speaking of the pandemic, we had a significant amount of burnout that occurred within healthcare workers throughout the pandemic, causing many of them to leave the occupation and leave the field altogether. Fortunately, they're starting to come back into the fold, but we're still trying to catch up with some of those losses. And then finally, the education pipeline just hasn't been able to keep up with the demand. And this is largely due to we just don't have enough faculty. We don't have enough access to clinical training sites to get these healthcare workers trained appropriately. And we just don't have the funding needed to be able to put enough healthcare workers out into the population every year.
What did you learn from your survey?
One of the best or most positive findings that we saw is that the vast majority of healthcare workers are really connected to their careers, and over 80% plan to stay in healthcare, which is very different than some of the narrative that we've been hearing over the past couple of years of healthcare workers kind of leaving the occupations in droves. That being said, about 1 in 3 healthcare workers are still experiencing at least one symptom of burnout. And so they are looking for things like better work-life balance, more schedule flexibility, easier access to mental health resources. And so that is one of the reasons that Indeed launched the Careers in Care initiative, which is a kind of an amalgamation of a bunch of resources and tips and tricks and tools to help healthcare workers find better balance or to enhance their personal career.
Wow, we have you right here. What tips do you have to manage burnout?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And so I would think the first thing when it comes to burnout, acknowledging that it's okay to feel that way and communicate your feelings to people like your supervisor or your coworkers. Our survey showed that there was a strong correlation between having those relationships in place and your satisfaction with your job. So sharing that information, also doing things like setting boundaries. A lot of times you'll be offered, a shift incentive to pick up additional shifts, but is that extra money worth the impact that it's going to have on your mental health, and is it sustainable? And then your standard things like making sure that you're promoting self-care. I know it sounds super cliche, but it's so important for occupations who really go to work every day to give themselves or a piece of themselves to their patients and the ones they're caring for. You have to be able to replenish that and do something that fills your cup personally. And then I would say, finally, look out for the warning signs of burnout. So these are going to be things like always feeling exhausted, feeling like maybe you're not able to deliver the level of care that you want to deliver, or maybe starting to disconnect from your occupation or your job, or maybe even feel apathetic. Those are all signs that you might be starting to feel a little bit burnout and should take some action in that area.
Thank you for helping us address this critical issue.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Go to businessfirstam.com for where to see our show on TV.